Hi, how are you guys doing? Welcome to another week of Flutterflow Live with Yay Dimitar. He's back,
Hey, I'm
and we're
back.
all very happy. You don't have to listen to me talk for an hour.
Back from my offline world.
How was your holiday? Are you fully rested?
No,
Because why? Which country were you banned access from?
I've been to Portugal, I've been to Bulgaria,
But not the
I've
UK,
been
right? And why was
not
that?
to UK. UK didn't allow me to travel with my ID card. Even that I was in transit,
Mm,
the air company said that that doesn't matter. You're not allowed to. No, because it's the stupid low cost
I think it's
companies,
more the stupid
airplane
Brexit
companies.
or a stupid terrorist watch list that you're on. One of the two. I'll give you the
No,
benefit.
I think it's because of the stupid low cost companies because they actually travel from A to B and not transit. So if you're a transit, you
Oh,
just
okay.
need to enter the country for whatever reason.
Yeah.
So so I think it's because of that. Because they said if I'm using a normal company like some British Airlines, for
Yeah.
example, then
British
this would
Airways.
be, for example, then this will be not the case. But yeah,
Okay.
whatever.
Well, I'm glad you made it. I'm glad to have you back. And we're excited to talk to you all about the news because there's been a lot of stuff that Dimitar's missed and is frantically trying to catch up with. So,
Nice.
yeah, you are sharing your screen. I'm going to try to remember that you're sharing your screen, and I'm going to try to squint on this tiny little screen to read it. And shall we just dive right in?
I can just wait. I can just make it like this, isn't it?
Yeah, that's good. Oh, I can read that. I can read that today.
Nice,
That's good.
nice.
Okay, cool. So, what is new? We are covering right now November 11th. There is another news update after that one, which we're going to be playing catch up for a little while now, but we'll go through this. And if for some reason we make it through quickly, then we can always start on the other one. And as always, if you have any questions, please let us know. If you have any comments, please leave them in thing and subscribe to watch our videos each week, including new stuff on tutorials and functions and whatnot. So, first feature, import CSV data. This is very cool. So, what this feature is essentially if you have a bunch of data, and that could be from another app or it could be from just some static data, let's say, like you wanted to import a list of all the countries. Previously, this was very hard to do, and now it is not. So, shall we see how it works?
Yes, can you just lead me through it? I have
You're
no
still going to
idea.
know where it is. So, I think it's if you go into Firebase,
Oh,
uh,
Firebase. So I need to
no,
go
no,
to
not no, no, no,
Firebase.
like the Firebase section
Yeah,
of
that makes
Flutterflow.
sense. So if I go to
I believe
Firebase,
it is in the CMS. If you open up the CMS, the manage
this
content.
one.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm hoping because this takes like 30 seconds to load. So if not, it's just
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
right
here,
there.
right?
Input CSV. Yeah, exactly.
Okay, but now I have events because I'm using this project, which is I call it the project, the news project. And every news I'm putting inside of this project, but not created an
Ah,
account.
this is an
This is
interesting.
because no, this is I think this is because I never connect this project with actual
Firebase.
Firebase. So will that work still?
No, it won't. So let's well,
Let's see. Let's see. So
uh,
so I want to
okay.
I want to upload this addresses SCV,
You
which I
came
just
prepared. Nice.
downloaded. Yeah, I just downloaded it
Okay.
from internet. I
We're
don't
just
know
getting a
even if it's
GDPR violation here. Just share some people's addresses in public.
no, it's I hope it's fake addresses. And there is a comma. I just open it, so there's a comma. Okay, upload file.
So what that those options you're seeing there is what's the delimiter normally that is comma separated value, but I don't think it's going to work because I'm pretty sure you need Firebase for this.
No, I think it says error processing your SCV file and it's about the processing of my SCV file, and it's not about something else. So first charge can be a number, and you see, so this is this error is about my SCV file,
Okay.
but I think I can just probably can just download another SCV file,
Okay. Let's try another
or with cities, for example. Let's open it
one.
and try to upload this one, maybe. So cities, and then this is a comma.
So yeah, what that's specifying is what separates
Yeah,
how that
this is
happens.
working.
So you get this nice little preview here of your data that's coming in, so you can make sure to match up your columns with the correct thing. I'm guessing you can choose what type they are as well, right?
Yeah, it's a good thing that because first is the latitude and longitude, or how do
Mm-hmm.
you say this? And
Yeah.
then this is an integer, right? So this is an
Mm-hmm.
integer, and I'm liking that because Flutterflow it's actually getting the data type, which is great.
Yeah, that's really cool.
And you can okay, you cannot change the string to something else, but you can change the integer to double into string.
String. Okay.
That's
I'm
strange.
curious what else it would pick up. Whether it would pick up like arrays, or whether it would pick up, uh, or if it's
Yeah,
just going to pick up the strings.
that's a good question. But we can try that. It's previewing the 10 records
Yeah.
from
So
the
if you
128.
open your CSV in like Google Sheets or something,
Yeah, I can
then you
just
can manually.
open SCV. Can I open SCV online or something like that? Probably there is a
Sure.
website, so we can just see
Like Google Sheets. That's
our
the
Google
website.
Sheets. Our Google Sheets, you're right. But let me try and do it over here. So can you see it?
Okay. Yeah. So what if we try to add in some like array or something?
So probably the best way is to uh to change this one, isn't it? So I can just get the latest 10 records and just delete the other ones, and then you want me to add an array, right?
Yeah.
So I can just add an array. So this array will be named countries, for example.
I can't see what you're doing, but sure.
Yeah, I'll just show it in a second.
Yeah.
Uh, and then I can add an array of some random countries. I think this everything here is in the USA, but let's say that they are in multiple countries like USA, Canada.
One thing while he's doing this, by the way, that was interesting is if you've ever had that error that Dimitar got with your Firebase where it says cannot add user, that's generally for a few reasons. One, you don't have authentication set up on your Firebase project, which you can do in console.firebase.com. You haven't like activated email sign-ins. Two, you've actually already got a user with the Flutterflow at firebase.io email address. And in that case, what you need to go do is go to your authenticated users, delete it, and then it will be able to recreate itself. I haven't actually seen that bug in a while. Well, I don't know if it's a bug, but
Yeah,
yeah, I
I'm not
wouldn't call
sure
it
if
a
so,
bug.
because
Yeah.
like I said, I didn't add.
New fields added. Okay.
Okay, so ensure. Okay, start field import. Okay, what? Okay, so it apparently I added all the 220, 20 something, 28 fields. Let me
Okay.
see if I can see it. If I can see them over here.
Let's see if that breaks Flutterflow. No, you can't
Uh,
because you don't have this user.
Probably. But okay, let me try and upload again the cities one. I just modified it,
Mm-hmm.
then upload it again, and then see if I made a mistake. Yeah, probably it's just missing one or more headers fields.
Posting action any tips to autofocus. So we have a question here, which is that I have found a limitation using Flutterflow. Text fields have the action to reset the text field input if added in the actions tree, but I don't see how to autofocus it automatically. So autofocus is an option on the text field. It should be. Let me see if I have one open. I can show you. I can open up my test app real quick. Sorry to distract me, Dimitar.
Yeah,
While
it's
you
okay.
um,
But yeah, you can just show that, and then I don't think this is possible, to be
okay,
honest,
okay.
with the
So
array.
what you're asking, you're saying, yeah, you want to refocus it after you clear the page. Um, yes, that is correct. It will not automatically autofocus if you clear the text field. The the way to do this is the best hacky way to do this. Sorry, let me stop my infinity share. Um, the best way, if you ever need to do something like that, is to do the simple trick. Like, let's say, let's add a button here that we want to be for, like, clear all text fields or something, right? So if I add that, I'm just going to add a button on my not working autocomplete page. And that button, I'm just going to set a navigate action, navigate to, and I'm going to navigate to this exact page, which is home page. And then I'm going to say replace root right here. And then I'm going to change this, the transition type, sorry, the transition type. I'm going to change that to instant. And this is the best way. I'm not saying it's a great way. It is still a kind of hacky way. But if you do this and you navigate to the exact same page, by doing replace root, what you're doing is making sure that when the user goes back, they're not going to go back to the same page again. And by doing an instant transition, depending on how your page is structured and your animations and stuff, that normally is not really visually clear to the user. They won't know that they're reloading the page. And then that would obviously, clear all of your text fields, which is maybe not what you want, but it will clear all your text fields. And B, it would then autofocus whatever it was supposed to be autofocusing. So that's kind of the best solution I could give you there. Reset the content of the page. This one is for Dimitar. So the API, would it, if you did that, Dimitar, what I just
Yeah,
described, the instant
yeah,
reload, what's going to happen
yeah.
to the API data that's been loaded on the page?
I think it will disappear, right?
So
Because
it
if
would need to
you,
reload,
it's
right?
like clicking on the
Yeah.
F5 when you're loading a page. I think it's the
Yeah.
same thing.
So unless you, I guess, passed it through as parameters or something, you could potentially,
Yeah,
you could
if you
pass
want
it
to
from the
keep it,
page to the same page.
yeah, if you want to,
Yeah, if you wanted
it
to keep it.
it depends actually, because it depends, because if you are redirecting a page, there are two ways to redirect a page. You already talked about it, but if you click over here, for example, if I click over here and then redirect the page to navigate, to navigate to a page, and just navigate to some random page, and then we have this replace
Yeah.
route, like that you just said about, that
Yeah.
you just talk about it. And if you but there is another option, allow back navigation, this one over here.
Yeah.
So if you enable this option, I'm not sure, but if you enable this option, this will actually, the page will actually stay active the whole time. And if you disable it, it will not stay active the whole time, which means that if whenever you are going to some other page, the whole content of the previous page will also load all the data, for example, from the backend, and then the second page will also load the data. So I don't know if that makes any sense to you, or what I'm trying
Oh,
to
okay. I see what you're
explain.
saying. So you could essentially have a page that existed, and you could do an instant transition and have that page exist solely to then send the user with an action on load back to the page that they just came from. And that would then potentially reset the autofocus, but not reset the API data.
Yeah, yeah, that's what I'm
So
trying to
that's
say.
one potential option. The other option is potentially you could pass through if there is data that you can't for some reason pulled in again. You could potentially save it to local state before you navigate, or also pass it through as a parameter to the next page that you're going to. So there are a few ways. It depends exactly on what's on your page, but those would be my suggestions. That will probably be. I mean, you could probably do it with a custom widget to reset autofocus, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah. So to go back to the SCV,
Yeah,
uh,
I hope that helps. By the way, right, Redu?
we actually added. The thing is that if I go to the content manager, it's not, you cannot see that the data is actually at, but I think is this is like that because I didn't connect to
Yeah,
Firebase, right?
yeah.
But if I go over here, then at least all the fields, names, and the data types are added. So
Okay.
I think this is a good way to quickly add all this information with a SCV file, isn't it? Because I
Yeah, that's
think,
cool actually, but it didn't pick up the array, right?
fortunately not, but because it's just giving me an error
Okay.
and just giving me the error that my SCV is not correct for whatever reason. So what? Let me just try paste bin. Let me just try to show you what I'm doing, because right now, if I see my screen, this is actually the SCV that I'm adding. I don't know if you can see it. Maybe I can do it
I
like
can
that,
see.
right? Yeah. So my idea was to just add here, for example, countries, like a new column, and then here I can just say like USA, for example.
Hmm.
And then if I actually add this to every row, should be able, this should be an array, right? This
I
should
don't
be
know
an
if it'll.
array.
It probably won't pick it up as an array because there's only one item in it, right?
Yeah, but it doesn't matter. It's array. It's all.
Yeah.
It could be an empty array like this.
Yeah,
It
you're
could
right.
be a one end item, or it could be two items. Doesn't matter. Um, but if I put this like, if I, so let me just try and upload this file. Sorry, it's over here.
I feel like it
So
would
if
have
I
just been easier to use Google Sheets. I've seen you use Pastebin, CSV online. You could have just opened Google Sheets. Why
yeah.
do you hate Google and commercial software?
Yeah, so missing field name. Your recipe is missing one or more header
There's no
fields. I had
header,
no
right?
idea. Yeah, but I still have, right?
Because you didn't
I
use Google
mean,
Sheets.
yeah, but let's not go into
Yeah.
this deeper, because
Uh,
yeah, it's working, but maybe not for a race, I think.
all right. Next feature. That's enough on CSVs. The cool thing is you can now import data. That's going to save people a lot of time.
Yeah.
Um, next feature that we have is that they have added new devices to device preview. So you can, if you can, if you can tell the difference between the outline of an iPhone 14 and an iPhone 13, because I think they're the same screen resolution, but there are more pretty options for you to, um, yeah, to be able to see. If you want to go
So the options are over here,
here,
right?
yeah. So you've got now iPhone 13, iPhone 14, uh, but aren't all the iPhones the same screen size basically? Isn't it eight or all of
No,
the
there's
standard
there's
iPhones?
slightly difference. For example, iPhone 13 and iPhone 14 Pro are
Yeah, the
slightly
Pro.
different.
But what? But the
Like,
iPhone 13 and 14 are still 812 by 375, right?
not, it says 930, iPhone
Oh,
30,
okay.
it's 930 to 8044, and
Okay.
iPhone 14. No, actually, this is iPhone 14 Pro. So maybe
Yeah.
you're right. Maybe iPhone 13 and iPhone 40 are exactly the same one, because
Yeah.
this is Pro, the
I
Pro
think
version.
so. I think it's just the Pro and the Max that are different, but that's cool. There are new extra screen sizes. I actually have a little uh, cool thing to share about making things more responsive. Okay. Next, new option for web publishing. We've added an option to make it easier to publish without www. So for those of you who don't know, you can publish your Flutterflow app to web. And I'm going to take over from here real quick for you.
Sure.
You can publish to, you can use a custom domain, which is really cool. There are definitely some things to think about with page routing. But the new option here is, if I go into, I guess I'll go into our project. I don't really know, maybe you know the difference. What's the advantage really of linking? Because I actually can't do this. I've tried to do this. I don't know why I can't do it. I think maybe I need to disconnect the domain and do it again. So right now we don't have www. We just have app.flexbridge.dev. There's no www.app.flexbridge.dev. But what would be the real difference? Question.
I don't think there's any difference, to be
I mean, most
honest.
browsers kind of handle the same, but this is the new option, which, as you'd see, I cannot check. My guess, I'm too scared, but if I remove, I
Oh,
think if I
don't remove
remove
it.
this, then I would be able to do it, and I would be able to deploy it to both of them. So that's cool. Um, there are some. Can I go on my rant really quick about web stuff? So if you're primarily looking to do a web app, there are definitely some things to know about how this whole setup works with deep linking, Firebase deep linking, your URL scheme, and your entry page, your logged in page. So the way these normally work, just to recap, the login, this one is when people are not logged into your app. This one is when people are logged into your app. And on apps, like mobile apps, that works pretty well. On web, obviously, users have the opportunity to enter anything they want into the browser, which would count as a deep link. And if your app has any sort of like conditional checks that you want to run, like is the user subscription active? Are they admin, user group, whatever? And you have those set up on here on your logged in page as conditional logic, it basically means that deep links don't work. So no matter what URL the user now enters, they're just going to end up every single time the page refreshes, they essentially get sent here. It will run all of the conditional logic and they'll end up always back on the home page. And this is really frustrating.
Yeah, but
Uh,
I'm not sure. I'm not sure if.
to give an example, this you're not sure of what.
No, I'm not sure. I'm not sure if, for example, if the link is test, so it's slash test, and you're saying that it will go to the login. For example, in your case, is dashboard, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So
It
you're
will end
saying,
up at dashboard.
so you're saying if someone writes slash test and then it
Mhm.
goes to the dashboard, but then it will go, it should go back to the test, isn't
It
it? When
doesn't.
you're
That's
saying,
my point. It doesn't. Or
yeah.
at least there are, I spent like 3 hours doing this last night. There are some ways like around it. The thing that I found was that if you have essentially your route to your logged in page needs to not have a navigate. And that's the only way I could find to allow a user to be able to enter any link they wanted, any
What
valid
about
link.
what about when you, for example, when a user enters slash test,
Mhm.
and then what if you have on every single page you have a local state, which is the, I don't know,
Yeah, we went through this discussion before. I remember. Yeah. A
like the
logo state.
arrow,
Yeah.
and then you can just keep that, and then you can, on the dashboard you can just say if this is not empty or something like that, then
Yeah, but
redirect
I
it
really
to
don't want
the.
to have to keep track of that. That's really a lot to keep track of. I would much rather just be able to run my conditional logic on one page. Anyway, that was my mini rant about that. That's all I have to say about that. What's next? Search docs directly from Flutterflow. You can now search Flutterflow documentation, hinted, from the command palette. What's the command palette, Dimitar?
That's a good question. Let me just see if I can answer that. So if we go over here, the command palette should be over here, maybe, not sure. uh but to be honest, I have no idea how I can access the how I can access. Okay, the command palette, it's over here, and then no, this is only the commands, right? The
The command
command
palette, I think
palette.
it's at the top right there. It's that search bar in the middle.
It's over here, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
you're right. Okay, so search docs, and then for example, I
yeah.
want to search about the text field. For example, I don't know how to use the text field widget.
The autofocus,
Autofocus, for example.
and then you go
Autofocus.
blind box. So that's a nice little help. We have another question for you, Dimitar, specifically, since you're king of deep links and dynamic links. The
Yeah.
question is, what about the dynamic format URLs so you can have rules for certain paths regardless of contents? Do you want to walk through? I know you have path document ID, so would need a permission for this path, or you can override perhaps for subdirectories or IDs. Uh,
Are we talking about the dynamic links
Talking about
or
dynamic link, well, this is actually in a root. In the root, you can specify a parameter as well. So, for instance, like the example they've given here, if you, I think that's the syntax correct. It's in square brackets with double dots. So in
yeah,
Flutterflow, when you're specifying the root, you can have
yeah,
dynamic page roots, so that so that they include, for instance, yeah, the user ID or something, and you
yeah,
do this like a variable, almost like you're making an API call or something. Um, so
yeah. Yeah, so the thing is that first of all, the dynamic links are working. So you have, so for example, this is when you go to this address, you can just type manually construct a dynamic link, and this is a Firebase documentation. So you can
mhm,
easily find this page, and they're actually showing how you can actually build your own dynamic link using this page over here. And there are a lot of parameters you can actually use. And the one that we're talking about, your deep link. So your deep link actually it's inside your dynamic link, and actually I think the problem is not about the dynamic link. The problem is about the deep link, because the deep link is, I think, is responsible for restricting the access to the pages or to the screens, or whatever, if you're opening this from a mobile phone or from a
mhm.
website. So I think the dynamic link it's not what we want if we want to restrict some
No,
page. I think the deep link is the one that we want to restrict. And then if I go over here and if I go to route settings, and we have this option over here which says require
yeah,
authentication. So in theory, if I click over here, if I check this box, and if I enter this page from the web or somehow enter it from mobile, I don't know how I can enter it from
mhm.
mobile, but let's say that we can. And then in theory, the dynamic link should be redirected to your login page. Then you should log in, and then after login, you should be redirected back to this page over here.
You know
And
what's
I
weird?
think,
Is that even if that page doesn't require authentication, it's still for a lot, because this was the initial problem that I had. I
yeah,
had a public page that I wanted, yeah. So I
yeah.
had a page that it's like our preview page, not the
Yeah,
main splash screen, but just for like our functions. It was what you wanted to share the links for them, yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah,
those share links would work fine in incognito or if the person's not logged in. But if a user who was logged in tried to click one of those links on a page that did not require authentication, they would end up back at their dashboard.
yeah. Okay, this is interesting, and
it's,
yeah,
that's a polite
and
way of putting it. Yeah, it's interesting. Uh,
yeah, it should not be happening like that, because
but it does.
if you actually have an open web, I'm calling this open page, which means that it's not required.
Yeah.
You should be, in theory, you should be able to just access this page without any problems. Just if we're talking about the web page, or,
Mhm.
or dynamic page, dynamic link, because what are the two options that you can access a page? You can either have it on the web version, and you can just for example, this page, it says course, so it should be package or domain name and slash covers, for example, and I will be redirected to this page. And the other way is when I have a mobile app, I can generate a dynamic link to this
Hmm.
page and then share it with someone, and this someone can access it without registration, without
Yeah.
identification. So yeah, so it's strange. It should not work like that. Maybe this is a bug in
I don't know if
Flutterflow.
it's a bug. It's to do with, well, it's just the default settings in the hosting file. So basically, there's a Flutter service worker that is like loading each time, and basically, as soon as a user is logged in, that is taking, from what I can tell, that is taking control of everything. So it will always, if the user is logged in, it will always send them to that logged in page first.
Hmm.
The only way to then go, and then again, if you have no actions, like no kind of conditional routing on there, and you have this pass through route, you can go then to another page that's, whether it's open or not, it doesn't matter. Yeah. But if
Yeah,
you do not have, if on that page I had like a mission control page, the sole purpose of that page was to direct people to the right place. Yeah. And
yeah,
because of that, it meant that there was no way for them to go to a page that was not one of the options, essentially.
yeah. Yeah, but what it says over here, if you go to settings and then app details and then initial page and then go to login page, there is an A to for information, I for information. So if you read this, it says this is the page that will load on the app start if a user is already logged in.
Yeah.
So basically, that means to me that if a user is logged in, this page will be loaded. So maybe
It will
maybe
always load
this
that one first. Exactly. When
yeah,
even on like a page refresh, it's basically, it clears out the, when you refresh on web, it is clearing out the local state, and it is essentially as if you're going there for the very first time.
yeah,
And so it will
exactly.
always start from that page, and there's no
Yeah,
way,
exactly.
as far as I can tell, around that.
Yeah, the only way that I can think of is like what I said to you. Just have a local state, and then says page, for example, the name of the local state, and then every you have to have an outload action for every single page, and just
Mhm.
write, for example, covers in my case, and then you can just on this page, logged in page, for example, in my case is covers, but yeah, this is not a good example. But for example, in your case is dashboard, and you can just say if just redirect it to this will be hard actually, because you have to do this for every single page, and this is not
Exactly.
very
As I said,
yeah,
my solution, my smart small brain solution, was to, I have my mission control page still, and that means now that a user can enter whether they want to go to dashboard, account, tutorials, whatever page they want to go to, they can now go directly there because there's that
yeah,
route, that path through. But if they essentially, on the very first load, if they just type in the root domain, they will end up on that page and they won't go anywhere, obviously. And so then I put a button. I put a button that says continue,
okay,
and that button now, and that was the best solution that I've come up with. Anyway, I feel like we're sticking on this too long, but it's
okay,
it's definitely, I think it works a lot better right now. This is still an area that there's maybe not enough granular control over. I know that Ali hosts it himself on Firebase. He does Firebase hosting, and that gives him then the ability to write to the Firebase JSON and control about the different routes and everything a lot better.
okay,
Anyway, shall we go to the next item?
yeah,
Um, this is the auto expanding text fields. Text fields will now automatically expand once a user has exceeded the minimum height. This small refinement will help you build even better UX. You can only define a minimum or maximum height, not both. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so text fields will now automatically expand once a user has exceeded the minimum height. Okay, so they're automatically set to vertically expanding. Can we see that? Can you put one in the, can you load up a text field?
yeah. Let me try that. So this is the text field, and probably I should have an initial value, right?
Yeah, I guess, yeah.
Some initial value, and I don't know
That
how I
clearly
can.
works. uh,
I don't know how I can, but probably there is an option, right?
It
I can
doesn't say
just
there's an
click
option. It says
on it.
automatically. Text fields will now automatically expand once a user has exceeded the minimum height. This small refinement tip:
Yeah.
you can only define a minimum or maximum height.
Okay, that's strange.
Because normally you
What
always
is?
have to be really careful to like put them in a row or something. That was my way. It was to put them in a row and set them to expanded, and then you wouldn't have the overflow. That was how
Yeah,
it always.
can you just do it your way, just to show
Yeah.
people? So
So
just have
where?
the row and then the text field.
Well, actually, no. Sorry, that was for text widgets. For like a text widget, it works that way. I'm not sure if it does for text field.
Okay, let's
For
just
text
try it with the
fields, to
text.
stop overflow on text fields, it works like
No,
this.
let's try it first with the text, like a normal text.
Yeah.
And then
So with
if we
this
can
one,
do it like
by
that.
default, this will overflow. If you set the text widget to expand it,
To
yep.
text or the row?
Yeah, the text widget. If you set it to expanded in the row,
Like
it will
this,
now
right?
not over. So that's how you solve the basic overflow for like a text. Yeah.
Okay.
For text field, I didn't know there isn't really a way. You always have to specify the number of lines, right? The number of rows. So
What if
where
I
it says
try the
max,
same thing?
yeah,
Okay,
okay,
it doesn't work. It doesn't work. It just no, it's
goes
not working.
massive.
Yeah.
And what if you do expanded and put a well, it's because your text field's in a column, not in the row. If you put it in
Okay,
the row,
let's try that. If I put it in a row, so let's try this exactly the same thing,
yeah.
but with a text field. So let me try that.
So yeah, it's automatically set to
Issue
expand.
value, and then
It's overflowing, no?
yeah, it is.
Okay.
No,
And
that doesn't work.
what if you put, so there's max lines, min lines. What if you set some height for it? If you set a
Yeah.
minimum height,
Where's the minimum height? Where was it? Where was that? I'm not very good with the design thing.
so there should be on a text field, there should be a minimum maximum height.
Oh, you're
No,
talking about the text field, not the text.
no, the
Text
text field.
field.
Yeah,
Yeah, text field.
there should be a width and a height somewhere.
Okay, there's a padding. Yeah, this is the width,
Width,
but
yeah.
we have only the width.
That must be. It's probably because it's in a row. I guess. Try add padding. Dimitar doesn't believe
Yeah.
in padding.
No, we can add padding. That's okay. We can add padding, but this will not help our
No,
problem,
no.
right? Because it's
No,
still
no.
over.
So
Still
I
over
think,
floating.
okay, let's go back to basics. So put the text field just like rather than being in a.
Just add real quickly paddings everywhere. Okay, just like that. This is okay. This is okay. Let me just get some random text because this one is not very convincing. So, for example, let me try and show this text. And okay, so I think this looks better because you can see over here the whole text.
Yeah.
But it's not working. So what do you suggest?
So my suggestion was first to take it out of the row.
Okay.
So just put it straight
this is
back
out of the row. The first one is out of the row.
And this one has the same text in it?
Yeah, everyone has the same text. I just copy and
Okay.
paste it.
And then this has min lines, max lines, just about to wrap it in a stacker widget into. Yeah, I mean, that's not a bad idea. It's got so min lines, max lines.
Yeah, it's one and this is empty.
I want empty.
So max lines, for example, if I do it 10. Okay, now I see it.
This is how I always used to do it, yeah. But obviously what that means is that it's not expanding on it's going to be showing that way even when there's only one line, right? And what they're showing now, they're saying that it's possible to set a height for it, but I'm not seeing the height option. I've seen it before. Okay. Let me pull up mine real quick. Column text field. Maybe you can search the documentation.
Yeah, I'm doing this right now.
Min lines, max lines, vertical alignment. Yeah, it seems like you only have this width. Um,
No, but this is actually this is not working, to be honest. The when you're searching the documentation, when I click over here, and then I'm redirected to this page and says you're not authorized. They're redirecting me to the I think to the admin part of the documentation.
mhm.
So it says I'm not
I'm
allowed
really
to
not.
do it.
Min lines, max lines.
They have to fix
Mm.
that.
I don't see these options that they claim are there. I just
Yeah,
don't
it
see.
says here multi-line auto expand. So
Okay.
let me see. Select the text field, move to the property panels, max line and min lines. To make the text field auto expand as long as remove the max lines
Ah,
and
okay.
set the min values to 1. Yeah, but this is what we did.
Yeah,
This
I think
is
maybe
by
it's not.
default.
Okay.
So if I go over here, by default this is okay. So min line is
You
1
switch your
and
tab.
max line should be 0, right? Should be empty. Okay, now it's working.
Okay.
So it should be
I can't
min
see your
line
screen. But
1.
give me time. You're
Sorry,
sharing the wrong screen. There you
sorry. So min line it's 1
go.
and the max line should be empty. By default, this was max line was 1 and min line was empty. It should be the opposite case. It should be min line 1 and max line empty.
Hmm.
This one will work. Okay.
Okay. So nice. Well, that's
Yeah.
good to know.
Yeah.
Um, Other improvements they've added on change action. They continue to add more on change actions for the count controller widget.
Let me show that one because I
Yeah,
like when
because you
they're
like
adding.
it.
Yeah. And I think I had here actions maybe. Yeah. So they added, which one was it? Uh,
On count controller,
count
the plus
control.
minus. Does it auto
Um,
expand when applied to input text?
yeah, this one. Okay. So this one, right? It's this one on count change. Okay. Yeah. So on count change, I can do update local state, for example. Here I can say, like, for example, here in the local state, I can just say counter. This would be an integer. And I can just say by default counter will be 1. And then here I can just say counter and increase or decrease. Okay, so here it's a little bit tricky because I cannot, if I have a counter
Mm-hmm.
in the local state, I cannot actually say if it's minus to decrease it and if it's plus increase it, right?
Why not? I mean, you could with a custom function, right?
Yeah,
Increase,
you can with the
decrease.
function. The thing is that here it says on count changed.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't says if it's a minus or a plus, right?
Okay. I mean, I guess this would just be on
So I
count.
have to check. So I have to just get. I can just get the
Get the past
count
value and
thing.
compare it to the previous
Yeah,
value. Get the current value and compare it to the future value. I feel like yeah, the past value.
yeah. Or I can just get the value. So if this one is 0 and I increase it by 1, I increase it by 1. I guessing this is increased by 1,
Mm-hmm.
and I guess you can change it. Yes, steps. And then to be I can just write this 1. But
Mm-hmm.
if I want to take this number, I should use it with a custom function, right? If I, for
Yeah.
example, if I have 100, for example, here in the local state, and I want to decrease it, for example, with whatever number is here,
Mm-hmm.
I can do it. I can only do this with a custom function, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
would be a simple. We can add that one to the functions library.
Yeah.
It's actually an interesting function. I mean, what are the other use cases I can think of for what you might want to do? You might want to, the on change action could also be useful for You could check, for instance, if the widget state has hit 5 and then not allow it to increase anymore. Stuff like
Yeah.
that would be some other interesting use cases. Like, or you could, for instance, if a user is making a bank transfer, they've only got £100 in their balance. You could now use this to let them. Previously, they could set that number to anything, whereas now you can basically on change check it, and you could actually decrease a different number on the page to reflect the fact that they're spending their balance, and so have those two numbers linked. So there's some cool ones there. I don't really use the Cal controller very much. I
Yeah.
built one from. I think I showed that on an early one of our first live streams. My
Yeah.
built from scratch Cal controller. Um, okay, you can now use constants. This is nice. If you go into glow, it's a new variable value. So there's empty
Okay, let me
string,
try that out.
true, false, and null.
Let me try
Um,
that.
so if you just go to set anything from variable, like some value.
Okay, wait a second. So constant.
And to answer the question that just came from Jonah, I hope I'm pronouncing it right, by the way. Jono, sorry. There is actually a timer as well. There's a timer widget that I think, and periodic actions as well, which combined together, I think, are great for that kind of timeout on quiz answers and stuff like that. I haven't played around too much with the periodic actions yet. I know Dimitar hasn't because he's been on holiday, but yeah. So those
So
are what
let me check. So if I have an image, for example, and I'm using, for example, single condition, and I can just say get the local state, for example, name. What you're saying equals to. Oops, sorry. What you're saying says equals to,
Mhm.
and then here I should get
Variable.
from variable
And then it's at
and
the very
global.
bottom, the last option,
The last
const.
option, constants. Okay, constants, and then empty string, right?
Yeah,
So this should be the same as
is set not empty means not null,
this.
not empty.
Yeah,
But this empty string thing is really helpful because you used to have to do this as like a custom function. It's a nice
yeah,
little
you're
extra.
right.
You just have to
True,
do it.
false, and no.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very good because when you're, for example, the use case that I can think of is that when you're using an API calls, sometimes this is not working,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe I don't remember of the use case right now, but maybe I think this will work. Before that I was using a custom function in order to do this, but maybe
Yeah, no, we have it in our function library. Yeah, but
yeah,
also like if you wanted to have like a conditional value, but if it wasn't set, doing it to empty. So there's some nice use cases there.
yeah.
Um, They did an API fix for you. They fixed an issue that prevented adding list string variables in API call body. I haven't
Cool.
come across that one.
Okay,
Um,
do you want me to try that out?
I'd rather first, before you do that, can you show the lock widget? Because I love that on the
Okay, so you
widget tree.
can look widget. Okay, sure.
I love this. This is so handy.
Uh,
So on your widget tree, whether you use it in double view or single view, at the very top you will notice that little lock icon. And
do
what
I
the
need to have a lot of widgets here in
yeah,
order
I
to
mean to
work?
be able to show it, yeah, to be able to
Yeah,
easily
but
show
I'm
it.
not sure if I have a page with a lot of widgets.
Uh,
Maybe I can create some.
you could just duplicate a whole bunch of them, whatever.
I
There you
have
go.
here.
It's something. But like the biggest use case for this is like when you have like mostly nested stuff. So you've got like, columns and rows, row, column, row, column, row, column, row, column. And then you try to click back to something and it takes you all the way back to the top of the page. And now you can lock the widget tree so that it won't automatically scroll,
Okay,
which
so
is
let me
really
try
handy.
with this page over here. So if I have, for example, if I add, because I have a lot of images, but let me add a button, for example. So if I add a button over here, and I think this will not work because this is a scroller. Is it? Oh no, okay, it's working over here. So I have this button over here, and if I click if I click it over here, now it's locked, right?
Yeah, exactly. So now even if you click that button on the builder or something, you won't be able to. It won't move around.
Okay,
It's
so I
really
click.
nice.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
absolutely love that because I hated it when it was so annoying when it would keep every time you made one change, it would jump back up. This is a really,
yeah.
really helpful
So
feature.
you're saying if I delete this image, for example, the last one, it will
Hmm.
not go to the top, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you're right. It's working.
I normally am. Um, cool. That's actually we managed to cover everything. We got 6 minutes later. 6 minutes left. Can I?
Nice.
I would like to show something that's kind of cool. I think.
Sure.
Which is I hope in the main version. Uh, let me just give me a sec. Let me pull up the because I have a video of it. Um, rather than try to load it. Uh, so what I have here. Okay, cool. Let me share my screen. So the new feature that they added, this is great for especially uh, if you're designing web apps, especially. So with web apps, there were kind of some issues around responsivity, and what you'll see here in this little. Do you see this video? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm basically resizing this window here, and you will notice that it doesn't just
No,
all.
we actually see your Telegram.
Yeah. Oh, you don't. You just see the chat, not the video. Okay.
Yeah, I see only the chat.
And hold on a sec. Hopefully, there's nothing incriminating in the chat.
So
uh, okay, here. And now, do you see this?
no, we still see your Telegram chat.
Well, then I give up. So much for that demo. Uh,
You can guide me. I can show it if you want to.
all I was showing is that you can now set. You could have access to the responsive. Here I've got it now. I'm good. We're good.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
good.
Yeah, we can see it right now.
Uh,
No, we don't see it anymore. Okay,
there
now
you
we
go.
see it.
Now you see, yeah. So this little
Yeah,
video here.
yeah,
So you can now access the screen dimensions at any time to know how big the screen, which is what's called media query. So as I'm dragging this window here, what you're going to see is that my entire layout starts to change,
yeah.
and you get a much, much more fluid, not perfect, but that's really, really cool. So you can use this for anything, for displaying visibility, and it's just accessible in global properties.
Nice, nice.
So if you like, let's say, set the button visibility or something, some item, and not just the visibility, but also the size.
Yeah.
Uh,
We don't see your screen anymore, but
I know you're sharing yours. I was hoping you were
okay.
going to do it. I thought that was the
Yeah,
system.
just okay.
so on that button, yeah.
Yeah,
So if you set the dimensions of that button, like the width,
this button.
yep.
Okay. But let me because this is in a component, so let me try
Okay.
with another button.
Well, some other
Okay,
button.
let's try with this one.
Okay. So here normally you would have you always used to have the responsive visibility, which you could change whether it's tablet
This
web.
one here, right?
Yeah, that was the old option. So that allows you to hide it, but that's kind of clunky and brute force. But now what you
Okay.
can do, if you actually go down to the width
The
of
width.
this button width,
This one is the button.
yeah. So what you'll see there is you don't have the ability to edit it, right? There's no set from variable, right?
No, no.
Okay, cool. So if you make it into a component,
Okay, so let's make it into component. Convert to component. Button component. Okay.
and then add, and so now what you can do, now on your width here,
Yeah.
now you have this ability to set it, right? From
Yeah.
variable. So when you
Yeah.
set this from variable,
Yeah.
what you can do is you can do a conditional value.
Okay. So yeah, from if
So
else.
can you make that bigger so it's not like covered by our cameras?
Yeah, let's try
Like
that.
make it taller somehow, like
Like that.
or if you just drag the handle of it so it goes taller.
Okay.
Exactly like that. Perfect. So if you do so for the first condition, if you set the if condition,
Yeah.
and single condition.
Yeah. Oops. Yeah.
Cool. And for the first value, we're just going to go ahead and go to global properties.
Okay.
And then you have access to like screen width.
Okay.
And then that's fine. And then do is greater than, let's say, greater than 1200 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
Not equal to, greater than.
Oh, greater than. Sorry.
uh,
Greater or equal to.
greater
12.
than or equal to, fine. Greater than or equal to
Okay.
1200. And then
Okay.
we want the button, let's say, to have a width of 300 or something. Yeah.
Okay.
And then we can keep adding breakpoints. So we can add another one of these. So
Yeah.
we can add another one that would cover for if it's between like 800 and 1199, we want it to be 150. And you can do
Okay.
this for
Let's
font
try one more. Let's add one more. So you said width.
is let's say
No, it's not equal to. It's greater than or equal to 8
100.
800. Not this 900. 800.
Okay. Then we would have it be, let's say 200 or something. The width would be 200. And then the fallback we would have is just 100 for if it's smaller than that.
Okay.
And you can use that exact same method for, well, for anything. You can use it for visibility. You can also use it for font sizes. So you can actually have your font change from being very big on a, kind of big screen, and then have it actually as it goes small, as the width goes smaller or the height goes smaller. You can almost set any variable based on these kind of conditional value checks to see how big your screen is. And this is super cool for if you want to design
Nice.
responsive. I got super
Nice.
excited.
I didn't know that, to be honest.
Yeah.
That's a cool feature. Another cool feature that we didn't talk about. It's on the test mode, but
I
I
have
cannot
too many
load it.
bugs for test mode.
I cannot load it because I have bugs in the test mode. But yeah, I figured out. I'm not sure if this is true actually, but I talked about it with you. But I think I didn't talk about on the live sessions that we do. That when you have a test session, you can actually click on the time itself, and if you click on the time itself, it should reset the time. So it should just reset it to 10 minutes. But if you click on the refresh test, or I don't know, I don't remember what was the name of the button.
Instant
It will
reload or
not.
something.
It's a reload. If you click on this button, it will not update the time. So the time will be kept.
Yeah. That's why my tests always expire before I manage to do anything.
Yeah. So I cannot show this right now, but yeah. And the thing is that I wanted to lastly to talk about it's I think Flutterflow needs a way to find widgets that you use in your pages. So for example, I already have like 20 or 30 pages,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's complaining about the Google Maps configuration. But if I
Yeah.
click on the Google Maps configuration, I'm never using it,
Okay.
and right now I cannot. So in theory, I cannot remove this error, right?
Until
Because
you remove the Google Maps, right?
until I remove the Google Maps widget, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly. But you don't
Yeah,
know
but
where
I
that Google Maps widget
exactly
is.
exactly, and I think that's why they need. I think they need some way of searching for a widget, and you can see where you use your widget, and I
What
think
would be
so.
really cool, I guess, is I mean, because each widget has a hash ID, and that would actually be how being able to access the hash ID is how you can access true state and do things like autofocus, for instance. Um, uh, for the someone's Jonah's asking, have I tested the Figma style import? I tested it really briefly. My designer's project is not set up well enough for it to work really very well. He's not that organized, and it's kind of limited a little bit right now, I would say. But I'm excited that they're going to be able to bring it in. Um, there is
Yeah,
no on tap.
but we'll test it next time we're live, because
Yeah,
this is on the next update. So we'll definitely test it live, I think.
and final question for tapping on the map itself. No draw body. So Do you know how to get on tap on Google Map? And the answer for me, we covered this. We talked a little bit about this last week, actually. But it's yeah, there's an ongoing conversation in the community about this, about using different map vectors and the line drawing and stuff. It's not an area I'm super familiar with. What I do know is that you cannot reset the initial location of the Google Maps widget, no matter what I tried, without doing the hacky refresh the entire page. It's very similar to the thing I was describing with autofocus. That was the only way I could find to set, because the initial location is not a like widget state. It's set once and then never again. So in order to like tap to recenter or something like that, in tap to draw lines, I think there are definitely packages out there, but I'm not going to claim I can do it. You would have to go through to draw lines. I think you would probably have to go through a custom pub dev. You might want to check out the Google, the Uber on the Flutterflow blog. They have like how to make an Uber clone, and there they're drawing these poly lines on the maps. They're doing it with custom functions and custom widgets, but it's a really great tutorial. So I would definitely check that out, because they draw like how to do that kind of stuff. So that might be a good place to start with there. But I think for right now, you would require a custom widget. Cool. I think that's enough for now.
Yeah.
But it's great to have Dimitar back. Thank you to everyone joining. We loved all the questions. That's been really cool. And we'll see you guys next week. Drop us a message if you have anything you want. And yeah, see you next time. Bye.
See you.